everybody. Welcome to another episode of From SME to You. And today I'm very happy to be joined by Rob from WYK, someone I know from the measurement community and who has now decided to employ all of this knowledge and expertise in everything he's done in business to a very, very good cause. So, Rob, I would love for us to start by you telling me and everybody what WYK is and why it is a very important thing.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thanks for hosting me. Good to be here. So WIC we're a social enterprise, a non-profit, and we have a mission to lower the barriers to entry faced by young people from underrepresented backgrounds in getting into work, getting into meaningful employment, whether that be digital marketing, analytics, media, advertising, whatever we can. So yeah, we run free to access courses and employability programs that are funded by the government. And yeah, we help young people launch careers that can be full of growth and opportunity and things like that.
And it seems to me that this is genuinely something that is needed from both sides, right? Like we've been
Yeah.
talking about the skills gap for a very long time. But on the flip side, there are fewer and fewer opportunities for younger people to access those, entry levels where we all used to, learn and cut our
Mhm.
chops and really get stuck. Tell me, what have you been seeing that links to
Yeah.
this?
Well, you hit on a really good point there that it has to work both sides. So my background is, as you know, is I worked in and around agencies for 20 years. I started my own analytics company that was acquired by Havas in 2012. Um, and yeah, when I exited that, one of my best friends, Tom, we were at uni together. He'd been doing youth employability for 20 years, and he and I were just always having conversations over a beer in my kitchen, like, could we do something that helps young people who are facing barriers, but also works for business as well? And I think having been in the for-profit business community for 2 decades, I saw how hard it can be for organizations to get entry-level talent right. I hired countless times entry-level people and had it work brilliantly, and then sometimes it didn't. And I think looking specifically at the agency landscape, I think they had a bit of a dysfunctional relationship with entry level talent. And so I saw a problem that existed and thought, can we create a solution? And that's the whole sort of ethos behind WIC, really, is to basically find young people who are up for a challenge, who've got that right mentality, and then equip them with the knowledge, skills, and behavior so that they can go find employers, hit the ground running, and do really well. I think at the moment there are still entry level opportunities, but what we're seeing actually is in a sluggish economy, when there's AI has disrupted the recruitment space quite a lot. So I think a lot of employers are reverting back to some of the practices that they did previously. So looking for just graduates from the best universities, looking for people who have certain backgrounds and educations. And that's a challenge for us.
Yeah.
That means we need to up our game as well if we're going to enable young people to get into the advertising and media industry. We need to make sure that they are better than the Russell Group University candidates that they're going up against.
Yeah, and so when you talk to these young, eager people, what is it that is a common theme that they speak about? Because um yeah, we what what I feel is that we talk a lot about this skills gap that I mentioned, but not a lot of people do much to bridge that gap
Yeah.
and this is where I think you have that sweet spot, right? What do you think when the younger people come to you that they address as like
Mhm.
the reasons behind it, what has worked for them, what hasn't, and why they are in that space?
Yeah, no, it's a really good question. And I mean, in terms of the barriers that our trainees are facing, over three-quarters of them come from minority backgrounds. And all of the stats show that um, if you're from a minority community, your chances of landing a job, particularly in London, are much lower. I think the unemployment rate for British, Asian, and minority ethnic groups graduates is double the unemployment rate for their white British counterparts. Same goes for young people who are neurodiverse. Same goes for young people. Same goes for females. Same goes for people from poorer backgrounds. Over half of our trainees are from the three poorest postcode brackets in the UK as well. Same for mums returning to work, same for caregivers, same for people leaving the care system. There's a whole range of
Yeah.
starting points that statistically show you're less likely to go on and succeed in a career, in a professional career. So what we do is we've created something that enables them to go into an interview with an employer and just absolutely crush it versus like a normal university graduate and whatever. And we do that in a number of ways. So first of all, we give them excellent technical training that's very hands-on. So our courses are actually very specific to job outcomes. So instead of just doing like a digital marketing bootcamp, what we will do is do a paid search Google Ads bootcamp. So a young person will come to us. They will do 4 weeks of basics, understanding like, how the internet works, what the
Yeah.
different digital marketing channels are, how the customer funnel operates and things like that, the
Yeah.
principles. And then they'll do a month of just Google Ads training. So we'll get them as deep as possible into understanding the different technical components of Google Ads and how they work. So they're actually developing one skill because we know, performance marketing jobs, people hire paid search or paid social or programmatic or SEO. And so we
Yeah.
really drill into that. And then our USP is that at the end of the program, the young people go into teams and they are assigned a real world business. And so they actually have a client, they have a budget, a real world budget, and they
Yes.
configure live campaigns for a real business and then present the results back. And so what we're doing is the goal here is not just to equip them with the technical skills, but it's to create scenarios that occur in professional life so that they can develop their softer skills as well. So specifically collaborating with your peers, problem solving, when things go wrong,
Yeah.
dealing with challenges, being proactive, effective communication, working to deadlines. I think now, the skills gap that you mentioned, it's not just about the technical side of things. I think this younger generation now, like the young people who went through COVID, skipped uni, they have now, it's been evident that social media has had a negative effect on this generation as well. They are sometimes, the challenges they face are around confidence and some of those core skills that a lot of us from older generations should take for granted. And so what we do at WYK is we focus heavily on these essential skills that are actually going to really do well for them when they get into professional environment. A lot of it's around confidence, but I think that for me is the skills gap at the moment now, is that there's so much online training. You can do lots of video courses for free and things like that. But what we really do is create these scenarios where they can begin to behave like humans and professionals, and then they know what's going to be expected when they get into the real world.
Exactly, exactly. So important. It's not just what you can do, but also is the whole getting buy-in, being able to explain, the reasoning behind it, but also the future potential and that kind of thing. It's something that it takes time as well. So that's something great that they're achieving now. So tell me about, what were those biggest early obstacles in getting WYK up and running?
Money. So we initially started working for the Prince's Trust. I think the Prince's Trust paid us like a few £100s for our first program. So getting the funding model right has been interesting because we're actually sort of three organizations in one. We are a non-profit who has a mission to lower barriers to entry for young people into digital jobs. So we have this sort of charitable face. We're also a training company, works for the government, so we're a B2G training company. And we're also a recruitment business, and we
Right.
help businesses acquire and recruit pre-vetted, upskilled talent that has high potential. And I think it took us some time to realize which of those three organizations, how they fit together. We weren't just like a single sort of business model. And I think, fundraising is always hard, and we've done a bit of that. We get grants now and then, and that's one side of it. Government is tricky because governments change, and so the funding landscape this year has been really turbulent as we've seen that handover from the Conservatives to Labour in the UK. And then I think the third one has maybe been the hardest, like the third commercial model, because what was happening was previously we come to an employer and we say, right, we've got these 25 young people who are coming out of our program. Would you be interested in hiring them? We're making a donation to access our talent pool. And businesses are like, we don't need to. We just put a job on LinkedIn, and actually what we'll do is we'll get lots of applicants. And so we can't create a business case to pay WYK to access your talent pool when we just get so many applicants anyway. And then what's happened, I think, this year particularly, AI has completely disrupted that. So if you're a digital marketing employer and you put a job onto LinkedIn now, you're going to get 300 applicants.
Yeah.
Half of them are going to be fake.
Yep.
A bunch of them are written by AI, and the skills aren't relevant. And so suddenly, employers, it's flipped on the head. That sort of huge volume of applicants now is creating a headache and a burden for employers. So what we're able to do is we'll come to them and say, right, you want to hire 4 juniors, instead of having to trawl through 200 CVs, half of which are fake, interview shortlist 20, interview 10. WYK has at any one time 100 candidates in market now. We're currently on a run rate of training around 400 to 500 young people a year. Wow. So now we go to businesses and we say, look, our trainees have had 130 hours of live tuition. They've ran real campaigns with a real business. We've already vetted them for their attitude, and we've upskilled them over the 10 weeks in our course. Don't waste all that time going sifting through fake CVs. We can help you access our 10 strongest candidates, and you hire the 4 strongest out of the 100 we've got in market. So I think now we actually do have a proposition that is quite attractive to employers, because it enables them to cut time, get as quickly as possible to the candidates that are going to be right for them. But yeah, we're a small business. There's always challenges. Every year throws up something new, and I think we're still definitely to see. We're yet to see what the true form of AI is going to mean. What is it really going to do when it comes to disrupting entry-level talent and all jobs? I think all professions and career paths in general.
Yeah, yeah. When these young people come and start the programs, what are there many differences with the level that they start from, and what are their biggest surprises in suddenly being in it's not the real, but it is a real world situation of management and learning at the same time. What kind of feedback and insights do you get from them?
No, it's a brilliant question, and this is something that it goes straight to the core of who we are as an organization, a business. We wanted to set something up from day one that was accessible to everyone. Again, if we're lowering barriers, we needed to create something that was accessible to people regardless of their starting point. And we have no prerequisite for training, experience, or education to come onto WYK. So I spoke in the beginning when I was speaking to my mates who are teachers. I'm like, how do I create something that caters to mixability? And it is the hardest thing to do in education, to build something that takes learners on a journey that gives them equal outcomes, but takes into account that they're coming from different starting points. So over half of our trainees are non-degree educated. Around 15% have neither maths nor GCSE. We work a lot with undereducated and underexperienced people. So for us, it means that we need to, have a very strong idea of their starting point when they come on the program. So the recruitment process, our selection process, is, like I said, primarily based on attitude. We're looking for somebody who wants to take, to grab this opportunity with both hands. We're looking for people who can commit to the program as well. So if there's any barriers, like, it could be that they have a job, or it could be that they're caring for someone. It could be that they don't have a laptop, and we'll pay for that. There's ways that we can do that, but we have to know that they can make it into the course. And then they have to have a decent level of like written and spoken English. I think that's also for us to get them a job in a professional digital marketing career. That's a requisite. But then when they come onto the course, we spend a lot of time getting to know them. So it's at that point we begin to find out about prior training experience, what transferable skills they have, what support needs they have as well. And then what that means is then they go into sort of three brackets when the course starts. So high achievers, they're usually university graduates who haven't been able to get a job. It might be to a confidence, it might be about finding the right role for them. And we know that with our course, that they're almost certain to get a job. That's usually about 20% of any cohort. Then we have around 60% of any program are what we call potential high achievers. So they're not ready for work when we meet them, but we're confident that after 10 weeks with us,
Yeah.
they will be ready for work. And then around 20% is what we call further support. And this is a blanket phrase for anyone who's facing a significant barrier. So that could be financial, it could be mental health, it could be a whole range of things. It could be a physical disability. And it's that group that from day one on the course, we make sure that we apply this additional wraparound support. So we're making sure that they have longer to do tasks if they're needed, they get additional one-to-ones, that we make sure that we're catering for them. And so flip side of that is those high achievers, we have to make sure that we're challenging them as well. So if they just do the same syllabus as everyone else, they might lose interest, it might not be as engaging.
Yeah.
So we've really got to work very hard to make sure that our syllabus it offers consistent outcomes, that everyone has just as equal chance of getting a job at the end of it, but that we tailor that delivery to the individual based on that starting point when we first meet.
And considering that this is, a much more switched on generation when it comes to everything digital, I imagine that, it is a bit of a step change to go from user to how you manage it from a business point of view and any misconceptions that they may have. What has surprised you?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I mean, to be honest, like we think we've seen it all, and then we'll meet a new group of young people, and we're like, we've definitely not seen it all. It's honestly, I think this generation are so cool. Like Gen Z, Gen Z, they get a bad rap, right? They famously are, lampooned in the media and whatnot by older people. But I think this generation brings to the table such a fresh perspective on the world, and
Yeah,
they never fail to absolutely blow me away with the creativity and ideas that they bring to the table. I think, like we said, that they are facing challenges that
yeah,
weren't there before. There are things that have happened in the world the last 20 years that means that their development is different to previous age groups and whatnot. But things like no, I think for me when I first got my first job in digital marketing in 2005, you just put up and shut up. You like eat the crap, like just do the job, and they're like, no, I won't let you treat me like crap. And I think in some way it's so admirable. What we're trying to do is help them have that conversation in a way that is professional and in a
yeah,
way that is going to encourage the employers to take their responsibility seriously. I think right now one of the biggest challenges we're seeing is that employers and businesses aren't really ready for neurodiversity.
yeah,
We actually did an alumni survey recently, and what we found was that of our trainees who have some form of neurodiversity, 60% of them have not disclosed it to their employers. And the reasons are is that they think that it will hold them back. They think there'll be prejudice. But the terrifying truth of it is that they're right, because businesses are just not ready for it. I had an absolutely shocking and awful instance a couple of years ago when the head of entry level talent for one of the biggest advertising companies in the UK told me, do not send us any candidates that have support needs. We don't want anyone who's neurodiverse or dyslexic. And, beyond that just being outright illegal, it just shows you like how ill prepared the business community is to support people of all different types of diversity. And I think that's one of,
yeah.
it's definitely a secondary part of our mission at WYK. We want to upskill young people and get them, connected to amazing employers. We want to help employers access incredible talent. But I think also, we've got a role to play in helping businesses adapt and
Yeah.
be more set up to support people and help them thrive regardless of, their starting point.
Yeah. And for for the are they mainly going to small and medium-sized businesses, or do you work also with the
It's a
larger?
range, yeah, yeah. So I think right now we've placed into 210 different organizations. The network agencies hire a lot from us. Like our biggest partner is Omnicom. They've hired almost 200 young people since 2020, and I think the networks are a good landing point because they have quite structured training and onboarding processes. Omnicom specifically have this awesome program called Anchor. So after the trainees finish our program and go to Omnicom, they then have this like brilliant onboarding training to get them ready as well. And I think the WIC program plus, those structured on, early talent programs are really, really good. Um, what we've done a lot better is understand the endpoint of our trainees as well.
Yeah.
So we work very hard now to understand the strengths that our alumni have. And so what we're able to do is put them forward for jobs that we know they're going to succeed in. It's a big goal of ours to not set people up to fail.
Yeah.
Now, I think small and medium-sized businesses present early careers people with different challenges. I think if you're going to go into like a small agency or a mid-sized agency and do well, you need to
Yeah.
be quite resilient. You need to be able to be adaptive, wear different hats. Whereas sometimes in a larger company, you might have one job, one channel, one role for that first year or two.
Much more
When you're
silo.
working in a yeah, if you're working in a startup or a mid-sized agency, the CEO can just, the MD can just turn around and be like, right, I need to do some content or I need you to jump on this new channel. And so a big part of what we're doing at WIC is to figure out where those where that sort of talent requirement and the
Yeah.
strengths and skills that the young people have, how they dovetail and fit together.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a real mix. One area that we don't currently have a lot of success with is with brands. I think one of my goals for
Right.
2026 is to figure out how we can help young people go and work at sort of big e-commerce companies or banks or telcos and things like that.
Yeah.
Often those guys rely on apprenticeship programs and graduate training programs. We sort of fit in between those things. We are, like I said, a lot of our trainees are not graduates, and we're also a little bit older. I think apprentices are generally school and college leavers, where our trainees are often more sort of early 20s, mid 20s. They're often young people who have done maybe some time in hospitality or retail and they want to change over. So they
Yeah.
do have these transferable skills as well. But I think definitely my goal for next year is to try to penetrate the sort of brand side market a little bit more.
Okay. And how do you see that balance? Because you've mentioned AI and AI is disrupting everything, and there's a movement to try and do more, but do it with fewer resources. Do you see that that is an add-on that people are requiring the knowledge of from the people they
Yeah,
hire, or is it a replacement kind of mentality? Because in
yeah.
everybody's trying to figure it out.
Yeah, that's true, and I think the reality is nobody's figured it out. Spaces like SEO, content writing, and copywriting, we've definitely seen that disrupted very quickly. Data analysis, I
Yeah,
think, is also an area where we've seen a lot of adoption with AI. But the thing is, the landscape is changing so quickly. Anyone who's predicting what it's going to be like 2, 3, 4, 5 years out from now, I
yeah,
think they are, making pretty big guesses. For me, like I think that particularly like agencies and professional services and consultancies and things like that, they are there to enable businesses to get the most out of technology. And I think right now I see all of these new toolkits, things like Lovable and Zapier and N8N and things like that. They are these incredible tools that businesses can harness to grow their core operations. Now, I still think most businesses are focused on their core product, their core services, keeping the lights on, managing the staff and things like that. I think actually this new wave, this new emergence of generative AI tools, automation tools, they actually represent a huge opportunity for companies who provide professional services to brands, because those brands aren't going to have enough time to upskill entire teams to harness these new platforms. So it's a bit like when, modern digital marketing as we know it emerged in the early 2000s,
Wait, wait, wait. I'm
Google.
ready for it now. I'm ready for it. When we were young. Exactly.
Yeah,
It's all
yeah.
different.
So I think there are going to be challenges, but I think there's a lot of opportunity as well. And for me, what we're doing is really trying to embed some of these emerging technologies into our programs. So again, that our trainees, when they go in and they're with a peer group of university graduates and whatever, they're already ahead of the curve when it comes to that.
Yeah, exactly. And tell me, is there a particularly strong myth that you consistently come across when these companies are hiring? Is there anything that would go like, if we just could break this one thing, kind of most of it would open
Oh, good
up?
question. Good question. I mean, we've covered a couple, like obviously that um, Russell Group
Neurodiversity and
universities,
backgrounds.
neurodiversity, and another big one. I think for me, I think a lot of companies want to project like strength, like we can do this. Oh, we've got our diversity policies are the best. Oh yeah, we already do that. We're already amazing. I think it's okay for businesses to admit that they can do with some help, that they can be supported. And again, I think one of the problems with agencies particularly is that they don't sell anything, they don't make anything, they don't manufacture anything. Everything they do well is based on their team, their people, and their culture. So as
Yeah,
soon as they admit any fallacy around that, it's like they're almost diminishing what makes them attractive to clients and stuff. And I think really what the mindset needs to be is to be investing in that younger generation in a really positive way so that they can grow into being productive members of the team. I think it's okay to admit that they haven't got everything right and that they're open to change. And I think that's the two mindsets that we see with employers. Ones who would rather sweep the neurodiversity stuff under the table and ignore it, and other ones who are like, right, let's put this on the table. Let's challenge it. Let's challenge ourselves and move forward in a healthy way.
yeah. And in an era where so many businesses have jumped onto the purpose trend, this is a very
Yeah,
purposeful thing that you're doing with real
yeah.
world consequences for the best,
Yeah.
right? So,
And it's that bugs me the most, that especially it's sort of, we rode the wave of it because we launched in 2020. It was very much George Floyd, Black Lives Matter, a lot of agencies writing manifestos and signing up to things
yeah,
and whatever. And and we've seen a reversal of those budgets. This is why WYK has had to embrace our inner recruitment consultant, because we need to talk the language of value as well. And honestly, Sara, like I can't tell you the number of times I'll meet somebody from an employer, an agency, and they're like, "Oh, it's so great! It's so meaningful, and it means so much to us, and it's so important to. Oh, that's everything we're about." And then they never reply to one of my emails ever again. Like they absolutely, we love what you do. We love diversity here. But when the cookie crumbles, what are they actually doing about it? What are they at? And the irony is that if you do invest in this stuff, the dividends are massive. So I
yeah,
mentioned to you that Omnicom are our biggest partner. They analysed the progression of WYK trainees in their business this year. They came back to us and told us that um, people in their organisation who'd done a WYK course get promoted at twice the rate of their peers.
there you
So
go.
that's up against university grads. That's up against people whose mates got them the job. It's up against people whose uncles work there. Because we are helping businesses access like potential, like talent potential, they go on to do really well as well. So by paying it forward, by investing in mission orientated businesses like WYK, that there are dividends to be
Yeah,
rewarded
so
with.
booking the work actually pays off. And
Exactly. Exactly.
that's amazing. All right, let's do some rapid fire questions to wrap up.
Okay.
Right. Um, what was the first job you ever had?
My first job was paperboy.
Ah,
Uh, yeah, but that was I think that was illegal because I was actually too young to be doing it. So I think my first job officially on PAYE, I was a wine waiter.
wow. And then you suddenly thought I can do this on online.
Yeah, I worked in hospitality for 10 years actually, and I think everyone should give hospitality a go. It's what a way to meet people from every different background and every different personality type. And then, if you can deal with people drunk, you can deal with anyone in a boardroom. That's what I say.
Yeah. What is the one marketing resource you would recommend to every young person?
Ooh, that's a great question. I love Ad Exchanger because I'm a bit of a techie, and that goes into a lot of the sort of marketing tech, ad tech stuff as well.
Yeah,
I think it gives a really good view on the emerging trends from a tech perspective. And yeah, it's just a bit nerdy, so I really like it.
cool. What is your favorite book or podcast that you would recommend
Book
to the
or podcast? Can I
businesses?
do a book and a podcast?
Yeah, of course.
Well, it's funny you say this because actually, I think there's been a sort of crossover in my life where I stopped reading so much and started doing more podcasts. I think those two lines like crossed over maybe about 3 years ago. So I definitely haven't been reading as much as I used to. And I think, yeah, probably impossible actually to pick um, a favorite book. Um, I am reading at the minute The Lies of Locke Lamora, which I think is really good. I'm a big fantasy nerd, actually. I love all my sort of trashy pulp fantasy novels, anything by David Gemmell, Raymond D. Feist, people like that, obviously, George R. R. Martin and Tolkien. Podcast wise, I think my favorite podcast of all time is The History of Rome. But
Is
which
it
is like a
one a year? Every episode is 1 year of Rome. Oh,
no.
this is another one. Okay.
This guy, Mike Duncan, his name is. He's also done an amazing one called Revolutions. I listened to it in lockdown. I think it's like 200 odd episodes, and it goes by it does the Republican era, then each emperor, and what you see is actually over this like macro level of hundreds of years that humans just keep making the same mistakes. And they were doing it then, and we're doing it now. So I think as a top-down view of humanity and our inability to learn from our mistakes,
Um,
it's a great view.
cool. What is a non-digital habit that I think supports younger and learning people?
Oh, that is an awesome question. Um, Yeah, I think like having a hobby that gets you interacting with other humans. I think this younger generation is, like you said, digital natives, so adept at navigating the digital landscape. I think that, we really want to, I think, like with particularly with like young men and the trends that are emerging and they don't have girlfriends anymore because they're not interacting enough in the sort of physical and real world. So I think for me, if I had one recommendation for young people at the moment is to go out and have hobbies that involve hanging out with people face to face. And, that can be football, it can be music, it can be book clubs, it can be absolutely anything. And I think really taking the time to invest in that is super important.
Amazing. That's definitely something we all can do a lot more of. And tell me, what is the word or short sentence that encompasses that spirit of WYK?
Ooh, well, WIC stands for what you know, because the world shouldn't be all about who you know, even though it is. And that's what we do at WIC is also help our young people build network and connections and advocates as well. So yeah, I think that summarizes it.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Rob. This has been
Thank you.
fantastic. I really,
Oh,
really have enjoyed not just chatting to you, but learning about all of this. I do think that, there is something that is very important for businesses to
yeah.
get to and supporting this because when I hear about placements being difficult to find,
Mm,
internships being difficult to find, if you then move that into people from diverse backgrounds, from all of other walks of life that have it even harder, it's just even more important. And I genuinely believe that when we all race, it all works better. So it's so, so important. So thank you for the work that you do, and thank you for chatting to me about it. It's been a pleasure. Do you have any?
absolute pleasure. One thing I was going to say is that we also are always looking for volunteers and individuals,
Yes,
digital marketing professionals. So if anybody is interested in that, they can go to our website, wykdigital.com, and sign up to find out more.
fantastic. Thank you so much, Rob. With that, we'll see
Awesome.
you all in the next episode. Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.